Can you hear me? Let's
Yeah, I can hear you.
get into it. All right, so today's lesson, or this Sabbath lesson, is Enoch and Abraham, the righteous astrologers, or the fathers of astrologers, of astrology and astronomy. The first teachers of astronomy and astrology. Why are we talking about this? And should Christianity and Islam and Judaism keep the Abrahamic calendar? Because why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because everything has a yin and a yang. Everything has a yin and a yang. Everything, and we actually need to understand that yin and that yang. Everything has a yin and a yang. And if you don't know what a righteous astrologer is, you're going to learn about it today. We're going to learn about what's the righteous astrology that Enoch and Abraham was teaching, and what did they teach this to, and where did it go out to throughout the world as we know it today. All right, and then how did it turn to it being an evil thing? You know, how did astrology become in the hands of wicked men and using it for their own gain and self gain, and to try to control certain things with people. But it's a righteous way to do it, and we're going to talk about it today based on how Enoch and Abraham was doing it. All right, so let's check it out. And we're going to be going into some Jewish Christian writings to establish what we're saying also. But before we do that, we're gonna go into the book of Eusebius. Eusebius, he has one book called the Church History, and he also have another book that's called the Preparation for the Gospel. All right, and with that, it's a Christian apologetic work. And in this work that he has, he's actually quoting from multiple sources that goes back as further as the 4th century BCE. All right, so we're going to be reading things about historians, Greek historians, Jewish historians, what they call Jewish historians, but Greek historians, um, Judean historians, Alexandrian Jews historians. We're going to be learning what they're saying about Abraham and Enoch, according to history, according to tradition that goes back as further as the 4th century BCE or even further. All right. We just what we have is just what was been preserved that goes back to the 4th century BCE. But I'm sure that these traditions about Enoch and Abraham goes back even further. All right, so now let's get into it, bro. Let's get into it. Um, so what we're gonna deal with, like I said, we're gonna go into this preparation for the gospel that Eusebius put together. So the first thing we're gonna go into, let's check this out, and we're gonna go to book 9. We're gonna go to book 9, and we're gonna start at chapter 16. Okay, chapter 16. Now Eusebius, he's quoting from Josephus, which goes back. We know Josephus is the first century CE or 1st century AD historian. But what we're reading out of Josephus and what Eusebius is going to quote out of Josephus is quoting this from an what is this person? From this person called Nicholas of Damascus, all right, which is a Greek historian, and he dates back to the 1st century BCE. Okay, he dates back to the 1st century BCE all the way to the 1st century AD. All right, so we're gonna read what Josephus say. We're gonna read it out of Eusebius, then we're gonna read it out of Josephus, so we get a full understanding. And I believe that Eusebius actually had maybe an older version of Josephus that we don't have today. Um, so let's read this right here. All right, we're gonna Let's start with this. So this is what Josephus say about Abraham. All right. And this is Eusebius is quoting Josephus. But Anaya, can you read? But and then Josephus is quoting from this person named Nicholas of Damascus in the fourth book of his history speaks thus, speaking of Abraham, and this is what he says about Abraham. All right, so we're gonna read, let's read what he says. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this other thing right here. All right, so can you read this first paragraph right here, bro? What he says right here.
Yeah, and before I
Let
start, do
me.
you hear any background noise?
No, I don't hear no background noise. Nah, no.
All right.
All right, so just read. Start right here, and Nicholas. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Let me start up here right quick. Start. Yeah, start. Yeah, start right here where it say, and this is it mentions of the father of Abraham.
You say where it mentions the father of Abraham.
Yeah, right here. Yeah,
Oh,
start right there.
okay. It
Mhm.
says Berosus mentions our father Abraham, not by name, but in these terms. In the 10th generation after the flood, there was among the Chaldeans a righteous and great man, experienced also in heavenly things.
So according to this, Josephus, when Eusebius is quoting from Josephus, is saying that this man, this father Abraham is experienced. He's among the Chaldeans, and he's a righteous man, but he's experienced in heavenly things. He's experienced in heavenly things. So now we're gonna read about some of those heavenly things that he is experiencing. All right, so now let's go down. We're gonna go down to the same author. Like I said, Josephus is quoting from a historian named Nicholas Damascus. Damascus, whatever, something like, yeah, Nicholas Damascus. So let's start right here when it say, for whereas the Egyptians. So this is when Abraham went down to Egypt because of a famine. Because of a famine.
Okay. It says, for whereas the Egyptians delight in different customs and dispa- uh,
Disparage.
disparage,
Yeah.
disparage, it says one another's usage and are for this reason ill disposed towards each other. He, by conferring with them severally and discussing the arguments which they used in defense of their own practices, proved them to be empty and devoid of all truth.
So Abraham, he was in Egypt and he's discussing things with these Egyptians, and he like, man, they ain't even got no real understanding. So before Abraham got there, before the people, because Abraham coming from Chaldean, a lot of the information was coming from the Chaldeans. All right, that's where you had what you'll call sorcerers there. You had wise men there. You had righteous wise men like Abraham. You know, and you also had other different sorcerers there that was doing things on the other hand side. But you also had righteous men there like Abraham who knew certain things, but he knew how to do these things to help people. Okay, not to self gain, but to help people and do things the correct way, how the Most High want him to do it. So he's going down to Egypt, and now he's professing certain things that they don't even know about. They like, man, they ain't really got nothing. Keep going. Being therefore,
Being therefore admired by them in their conferences as a very wise man and strong, not only in intelligence, but also in persuasive speech on whatever subjects he undertook to teach. He freely imparts to them the science of arithmetic and also communications. Excuse me, not communications, communicates to them the facts of astronomy.
so
For
he
before, go ahead.
so before Abraham, keep going.
Where am I at?
Right.
Oh, it says
Yeah.
Josephus
Joseph.
arrive, excuse me, arrival, the Egyptians were ignorant of these subjects, for they passed. from the Chaldeans into Egypt, and thence came also to the Greeks.
And that's
So
what
Josephus writes.
Josephus writes, and he's getting that from Nicholas of Damascus. All right. So he's speaking a little, going into more details of it. And it's interesting how Josephus is quoting from, he's quoting from Nicholas of Damascus. He's a Greek historian. So it's interesting, what information does Josephus has, and what information does that Greek historian had? Like, what information do they have? We're going to talk about that in a second. So let's go back to those. So Josephus, this is what Josephus right there. He's teaching them. You know, he's learned in arithmetics. He's learned in heavenly things. So if he's learning heavenly things, then he knows astronomy. He knows astrology. We're gonna come to find out astrology and astronomy was actually the same thing until the late Middle Ages. It got separated. People separated themselves from the church, started separating the quote unquote mother church, started separating that from each other. So now let's keep going. So now we're gonna go to chapter. This is chapter 17. 17. Now Eusebius is quoting from a historian named Alexander Polyhistor. All right, he's quoting from somebody named Alexander Polyhistor. He's a Greek historian, another Greek historian. All right, another Greek historian, and he date back to going into like the first century BCE. All right, so in the first century BCE, you got what this is being talked about. All right, so you got all the way. So this information, as we can see right now, it goes back as far as the first century BCE so far right now. But I'm gonna take it back even further in just a second. So let's see. Let's go back to this. All right. So now let's read this. Let's read this real quick. So this is Alexander Polyhistor, and he's going to quote, but he's actually quoting from a 4th century source. Okay. So Eusebius, he's in the 4th century AD, and he's quoting from Alexandria Polyhistor, which is in the 1st century BCE. But Alexandria Polyhistor is quoting from this from another historian, and his name is, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Eurypylus, and he's a Hellenistic Jew. All right, he's a Hellenistic Jew historian. All right, so this Greek historian is quoting from this Hellenistic historian, which dates back to the 4th century BCE. All right, so now we jump from 1st century BCE to the 4th century BCE. All right, and Eusebius is quoting from these people, and he's in the 4th century AD. All right, so I hope y'all following me. So now let's read what let's read what he say. All right, let's check this out. Can you read? Let's see. We're gonna read what he's saying about about Abraham. All right. So just start right here where Eupolemus, I think that's his name. You see it right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Eupolemus in the book, in his book concerning the Jews of Assyria, says that the city Babylon was first founded by those who escaped from the deluge, and that they were giants and built the tower renowned in history.
Keep going.
But when this had been overthrown by the act of the Most High God, the giants were dispersed over the whole earth. And in the 10th generation, he says, in Carmania, no, I don't say Carmania. It says in Camaria, Camarina, excuse me, a city of Babylon, which some called the city Uriah, and which is by interpretation the city of the Chaldees. In the 13th generation, Abraham was born, who surpassed all men in nobility and wisdom, who was also the inventor of astronomy and the Chaldaic art, and pleased God well by his zeal towards religion.
Oh, so he now this is saying that he actually invented astronomy and the Chaldaic art. All right. So this is what this Greek historian is saying that he's getting his information from a Hellenistic Jew historian that dates back to the 4th century BCE. All right. So this is as further as we go back to that Abraham is the inventor of astronomy. All right. So now let's keep going. Let's keep going. So let's read some more. Let's read some more. Let's see. Let's see. All right, can you start right here when it say, but when they came?
But when there came a famine, Abraham removed into Egypt with all his household and dwelt there. And the king of Egypt took his wife in marriage. Abraham, having said that she was his sister, so also related fully that the king was unable to consort with her, and that it came to pass that his people and his household were perishing. And when he had called for the soothsayers, they said that the woman was not a widow. And thus the king of Egypt learned that she was Abraham's wife. Move down some, please.
Mhm,
It says, and the king of Egypt learned that she was Abraham's wife and gave her back to her husband.
mhm.
And Abraham dwelt in the Egyptians, excuse me, Abraham dwelt with the Egyptian priests in Heliopolis and taught them many things. And it was he who introduced astronomy and the other sciences to them,
Mhm.
saying that the Babylonians and himself had found these things out, but tracing back the first discovery to Enoch, and saying that he and not the Egyptians had first invented astrology.
Oh, so now Abraham, he's the father of astrology, but he's also telling you that Enoch came before him, was the one who understood astrology. And he pulled out the books, of Enoch. All right. So you got this historian quoting that. He got a Greek historian, which is quoting, he's in the this Greek historian is in the 1st century BCE. He's quoting from a Hellenistic Jew historian that dates back to the 4th century BCE. And this is what is this at first we go back to that Enoch is actually the father of astrology, and Abraham picked that up. All right. Abraham picked that up from Enoch. All right. And keep going, look. I found something interesting. Keep going. Keep going. All right.
It says, for the Babylonians say that the first man was Belus, who was Chronos, and that of him was born a son, Belus, and Canaan, and that is Canaan begot the father of the Phoenicians,
Mhm,
and that his son was Ham or Ham,
mhm,
who is called by the Greeks as Bolus,
mhm.
and is the father of the Ethiopians, and the brother of Mitzrayim, the father of the Egyptians. But the Greeks say that Atlas invented astrology,
Mhm.
and that Atlas is the same as Enoch.
Hold on. So the Greeks, they say that, and if anybody know who Atlas, that what they created the map, the world map, Atlas. But also Atlas is a Greek god that's before the Olympian gods. Like this god is before Zeus. All right, if I'm not mistaken, because Zeus is an Olympic god, Greek god. This Atlas god is before that. This Atlas god The Greeks say that's the same person. That's Enoch. They say that's Enoch. What? Can you read it, bro?
Hold on, I'm trying to find where I was at.
Right
Okay,
here.
I found
Mhm.
it. All right. It says in that Enoch had a son, Methuselah, who learned all things through angels of God, and thus we gained our knowledge.
So they saying, okay, so they even admitting, the Greeks even admit, okay, that Enoch is the first astrology, okay, the one who learned the heavenly things first. And they even call him Atlas. All right. They even call him Atlas. All right. So now let's keep going. Let's keep going. So now we're gonna go to another historian. All right, another historian who is Artabanus, and he's a Jewish historian too. All right, he's a Jewish historian too, and he's dating at least to the third and second century BCE. All right, so let me see something. All right, so yeah, this is who we right here. And he's dating to the third or second century BCE. He's Artapanus of Alexandria. He's a Hellenistic or Alexandrian Jew. All right. And he's dating to the third and second century BCE. He's a historian, and let's see what he says. So as we can see so far, we go back to the fourth century BCE with Jewish historians, okay, with Hebrew historians going back to the fourth century BC. So we can go back to the fourth century BC, then I know it go back even further. All right. So, but let's see what Artapanus say, which he dates back to the third or second BCE. Okay, third or second century BCE. So let's see what he says. 1 second. All right, so let's read what he says. Hold on, let me get straight to it. All right, so just read right here. In certain anonymous.
In certain anonymous works, however, we found that Abraham traced back his origin to the giants, and that dwelled, excuse me, and they dwelled, excuse me, and that they dwelling in Babylonia, were destroyed by the gods for their impiety, but that one of them, named Belus, escaped death and settled in Babylon, and lived in a tower which he had built, and which was called Belus, from the Belus who built it. And that Abraham, having been instructed in the science of astrology, came first into Phoenicia and taught astrology to the Phoenicians, and afterwards passed on into Egypt.
So Abraham is the one that taught astrology to the Phoenicians. He taught astrology to the Babylonians and to the Phoenicians, and then he passed it down also into the Egyptians. All right. So now let's keep going. Wait, you know what, we done right there. So we done with the preparation of the gospel. So wait, and then like I said, we got Josephus. Josephus, what we just quoted from Eusebius, he speaks the same thing. It just say right here, this is Antiquity of the Jews, book 1, chapter 8. And it say, and he delivered to them science of astronomy. For before Abraham came into Egypt, they were unacquainted with those parts of learning. So just like we just read from Eusebius, quoting from Josephus, and Josephus actually quoting, he tells you who he's quoting from in the beginning of this. He tell you that he's quoting from the guy Nicholas of Damascus. All right, so now but now let's go to some Jewish Christian New Testament, what we are calling Ebionite records. Let's see what's talked about in there. Okay, about Abraham. Let's see. All right, so we in the recognitions of Clement. This is book 1. We're gonna go to book 1, Let's go to chapter 32. Chapter 32. All right. So we in the recognitions of Clement, chapter 32. All right, now can you read this for me, bro? Start right there in the
Yeah.
21st generation.
In the 21st generation, there was a certain wise man of the race of those who were expelled of the family of Noah's eldest son by the name Abraham, from whom our Hebrew nation is derived. When the whole world was again overspread with errors, and when for the uh hid no
Hideous.
hideousness, yeah,
Yeah.
hideousness of its crimes, destruction was ready for it. This time not by water but fire. And when already the scourge was hanging over the whole earth, beginning with Sodom, this man, by reason of his friendship with the Most High God, who was well pleased with him, obtained from the Most High God that the whole world should not equally perish. From the first, this same man, being an astrologer, was able from the account of from the account in order of the stars to recognize the creator, while all others were in error, and
Mhm.
understood that all things are regulated by his providence.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Yeah, right here.
By his providence, whence also an angel standing by him in a vision instructed him more fully concerning those things which he was beginning to perceive. He showed him also what belonged to his race and posterity, and promised him uh, that those districts should be restored rather than given to him.
So according to the recognitions of Clement, according to this Jewish Christian writing right here, is stating that Abraham was an astrologer and was able to understand the order of the stars, to recognize a creator, while others were in error, but he understood all these things are being regulated by the most high providence. All right. And angels were showing him these things also. So according to this right here, it lets you know that it is a righteous astrologer. You do have righteousness according to history, what we just read, and also according to Jewish Christian writings right here. So we see that Abraham was an astrologer, but what type of astrologer? He's the first astrologer actually. Well, besides Enoch, Abraham is the first astrologer, and he's teaching these things in a correct way. Though he's not going off with these things. All right, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But we're going to talk about how can you be a good astrologer. First, you got to be in line with the Most High God. All right, then you got to understand that it is an order with these with the stars and the sun and the moon. You're not saying things like that. But once you start going off, and we're gonna show you how you can go off, because Enoch shows you how you can go off with this if you're not taught it in the righteous way and how to do it, and actually doing it not for self gain, but doing it to actually to understand certain. Let me give you an example. Let me give you let's get an example. Let's go to the book of Jubilees. Go to the book of Jubilees. We'll go to chapter 12. So Jubilees chapter 12. Can you read verse 16 through 18 for me, bro?
Yeah, I got you. It says, and in the 6th week, and in the 5th year thereof, Abraham sat up throughout the night on the new moon of the 7th month to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a
Mhm.
word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of the Lord. Why do I search them out?
He asked a
If he,
question. Hold on, before you, he asked the question. He asked himself, "Why do I search them out?" Well, why do I need to search this out? If all of these are these the signs of the stars, the signs of the moon, and the sun, they are in the hands of the Most High. Why do I need to search this out? But what is Abraham doing? He's on the first day of the seventh month, which is the new moon, is in Hebrew just new month. He on the first day of the seventh month, and he's observing the stars from evening to the morning. He's looking up there, and he was getting the character of the year with regard to rain. That's astronomy. He's doing astrology. That he's doing one way of astrology. Let me before we finish reading. This right here. This is a quick research. Astrology and astronomy. All right, and it says this right here. I'm gonna just read this. Astrology and astronomy were arch I don't know how to say that word. That they was treated together, but gradually distinguished through the late Middle Ages into the Age of Reason. Developments in the 17th century, philosophy resulted in astrology and astronomy operating as independent pursuits by the 18th century. All right, astronomy is the branch of science that studies everything outside of Earth atmosphere. So if you study everything outside of Earth atmosphere, you're studying astronomy. But they say an astrology is the non-scientific practice using the positions like Abraham was doing, checking out the positions, observing the signs of the stars, checking out the positions of the celestial objects to explain or predict human behavior, or not just human behavior, but it's also to predict positions and motions and properties that affect people and events on the earth, how weather, those type of events and other type of events that people that astrologers try to get from the positions of the sun and the moon and the stars and things like that. All right. So, but to put it out there, so you have Abraham, he actually doing astrology. He's doing astrology. All right. He's seeing the characters and how it's going to play out, how the rain, how that event is going to play out on the earth for a specific time period. All right. So let's go back to it. So he said, why do I search them out? Verse 18, bro.
If he desires, he causes it to rain, morning and evening. And if he desires, he withholds it. And all things are in his hand.
And so to be a righteous astrologer like Abraham and Enoch, you have to understand that the Most High is the one who controls these things. So these stars and they it's not always accurate. All right, but the best accuratization you can get is actually being underneath the Most High and understanding it the way that the Most High wants you to understand and know that the Most High, He's control of all of that. So yeah, the stars can show you that it's going to rain for 3 months, or it's gonna rain for the next it's gonna rain for the next 3 days. The stars can show you that. Okay. But the
Hey,
most high, but the most high himself, he can change that to be 2 days or one day. All right, but the stars still in the same position, showing it's gonna rain for 3 days. What you gonna say, bro?
oh no, I was gonna say another thing too about the whole astrology and astronomy situation is that like I know in our community is like really looked down upon, but like you said, what make it evil is the intentions and the people that's doing it and them not giving the reverence to the Most High for being the one that control it. And with that being said, also, you have to be on the correct calendar in order to deal with it the correct way. I'm positive Abraham was on the correct calendar. We know for a fact Enoch was on the correct calendar. But once you start getting off the correct calendar and you go into the Gregorian calendar and different calendars, some of the stuff still hold true, some of the information, but because you're out of whack with, the calendar, things is not falling properly the way it's supposed to fall properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, we have January as the first month of the year when it's the coldest month of the year. Nothing is being born in January. Everything is dying off. So that's another way to be off with it as well. One other thing I wanted to say real quick, one of the reasons one of the reasons that is frowned upon is because of the scripture that says, It's in Jeremiah chapter 10, right before you talk about the Christmas tree. Be not dismayed, Adam. You know what I'm saying? Looking up at the stars. But when you look into that word dismayed, man, it mean broken down. It mean like it's not saying you can't deal with astrology. It's saying you should not be broken down. You should not be worshiping these things. This should not be your end all be all astrology. The Most High should be your end all be all. But there's nothing wrong with studying astrology. As a matter of fact, for those of us that believe in the book of Jasher, when you go and you read, I think it's in the 80s. No, it's I I think it's in the 50s. It might be like chapter 53 through chapter 58. When Joseph um when Joseph knew that his brothers was in Egypt already. And I think at one point he sent them back to go get Benjamin. And when they was bringing Benjamin back, it tell you that he had some type of device. I forgot what the name of it was, but it was pretty much something to where he can look into the sky, look into the stars with it. I guess it was like some type of what do you call it, telescope or something. He could look into the stars with it, and he was able to see where his brothers was at traveling. He was able to see how far they was with Benjamin traveling back to Egypt. So it just shows you that our forefathers dealt with astrology. We just can't go off in it. That's the problem.
Exactly. Exactly. Nah, good information, bro. Real talk. Let's let's go down. Same chapter of Jubilees. We still in Jubilees chapter 12. We're gonna read verse 26. Read verse 26 through 28 for me, bro.
All right. And I opened my mouth, excuse me, I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, in the tongue of his, excuse me, in the tongue of the creation.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the books of his fathers, and these were written in Hebrew, and he transcribed them, and he began from henceforth to study them. And
Mm-hmm.
I made known to him that which he could not understand, and he studied them during the 6 rainy days. And it
Really
came to
months.
pass,
Mm-hmm.
rainy months, excuse me. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week that he spoke to his father and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan to see it and return to him.
Mm-hmm. So as we can see, Abraham, the Most High actually, when we read in the prophets, and it say that the Most High would give us that holy language again, give us the Most High did that to Abraham. He opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and he began to speak Hebrew in the tongue of the creation. All right, and he took the books of his fathers, which the book of Enoch, what we just read, that the historians said, historians, according to historian tradition, that he Abraham read the book of Enoch to the Egyptians. All right. And that's according to Greek historians that we actually got it from Hebrew historians, all right, that date back to the 4th century BCE. All right. So Abraham started to understand the book of Enoch, understand the book of Noah, started understanding these things to understand how to deal with these. And he did it all through the six rainy months. It was 6 rainy months. Those three quarterly, those months, he was studying. So he took that's when he looked at the stars and he seen the position of the stars, and he understood the Most High showing that it's going to be raining for this part of time. He understood that this is the raining months by looking at the stars. He understood that. He took that time and he read these books of his fathers. There's one of those books is the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch. All right, so now, but let's prove what I'm saying. Let's go to, where is it? Hold on 1 second. We're gonna go to the Genesis Apocryphon. All right, here we go, right here. So we in the Genesis Apocryphon, which is a scroll that was found at the Dead Sea Scrolls, at the Qumran Caves. It was a scroll that was found that actually scholars call it the Genesis Apocryphon, and it has the book of Noah, the book of it has the book of Enoch in there, but it's completely gone, just a small fragment, but then it has the book of Noah in there. But then after Noah it has the book of Abraham in there, and then it's just after that it's no more. But we believe this Genesis Apocryphon is what historians that we just read in Eusebius, that historians were quoting about. I'm gonna show you why in a second, because it's pretty much saying the same thing in here that the historians were saying. All right. And then we getting the same information that we're going to read in here. We see the same information in the book of Jubilees that we just read, that Enoch was reading out of that Abraham was reading out of the books of Enoch. All right, so let's start on. We in the book of Abraham, in the Genesis Apocrypha, in the book of Abraham. Can you start at column 24 right here? And it say at the end of those 5 years, right here.
Now, at the end of those 5 years, it says to me, and 3 men from the nobles of Egypt, his by Pharaoh Zoan, because of my words and my wisdom, and they were given.
Mm-hmm. Keep going 1 second. All right here.
Because of my words and my wisdom, they were given many gifts. They asked scribal knowledge and wisdom and truth for themselves. So I read before them the book of the words of Enoch.
Like we just see them do that according to historians. All right, that's dating back to the 4th century BC. They seen that Abraham was reading the book of Enoch, letting them know that Enoch was the first astrologer. Enoch was the first one teaching astronomy. All right, and the Greeks agree with that. The Greeks call him Atlas. All right, keep going.
In the womb in which he had grown, they were not going to get up until I would clearly expound for them the words of
Probably Enoch.
with much eating and much drinking,
Mm-hmm.
the wine to you. Where am I? He was entering, and I said to Zoan by the words of Enoch.
So Abraham was speaking the words of Enoch to the Egyptians. That this how the Egyptians learned. They was learned in arithmetic and astrology and astronomy and all of that and different mathematics. They was learned in that because Abraham went down there during the famine and he showed them the book of Enoch. He was going into the book of Enoch. All right. So now
I was
let's
just gonna
go.
say
Yeah.
when you see that word Zoan, that's just a certain part of Egypt. So that's still talking about him teaching the Egyptians also.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Let me close out some of this. Oh man, I think I just closed out the book of Enoch. There you go. All right, so now we're gonna go to the book of Enoch. Now we in chapter 1, section 1. But can you read verse 1 through 3 for me right here? Let me make it a little bigger. Oh no. All right, you can see that. We in chapter 1 of the book of Enoch, chapter 1, verses 1 through 3.
I know I was on mute. Sorry. It says the words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless are to be removed. And he took up his parable and said, Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God, saw the vision of the Holy One in the heavens, which the angels showed me. And from them I heard everything. And from them I understood as I saw, but not for this generation, but for a remote one, which is for to come. Concerning the elect, I said, and took up my parable concerning them.
So Enoch, he has words to say. He has a parable that he took up concerning things that was taking place because of the watchers. But I'm gonna tie it back up with astrology in a second. Okay, we're gonna show y'all something in just a second. Read verse. Can you read verse 9 from me? Read verse 9 right here.
And behold, he cometh with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him.
Because it's Enoch was prophesying of a reckoning coming for people. They was going off. They was going out, and they was actually going off with astrology also. Okay, and I'm gonna show you that. But let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 right here. Let's see what Enoch, because this is how Enoch, this is why he's called Atlas. This is why the Greeks call him the god Atlas. Keep reading right here.
Observe ye everything that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in the heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Behold, ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it from first to last, how steadfast they are, how none of the things upon earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. Behold, the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds, and dew, and rain lie upon it.
So an angel took Enoch to show him these things. Like Enoch was the first person to be shown these things. All right, and this even go back, as far as Mesopotamia, in Babylonian was is somebody called Antana, and somebody called Adapa, and they compare this person to Enoch also. These people was translated, took him into the heavens. Enoch was translated, took it to the heavens, and was shown these things by an angel of the Lord. Okay, so now let's go to chapter 6. So let's get into it. So Enoch, he's what the Greeks call Atlas. All right, he's what the Greeks call Atlas. So let's read chapter 6 right here. Let's read chapter 6, but yeah, we're gonna skip around. But read chapter 6 right here. Start at verse 1.
All right. And I was
Mm-hmm.
just gonna say too real quick. It makes sense that they give him. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's very
Mm-hmm.
believable that they give him that that high esteem and that reverence, although we know it to be true anyway. But that they turned him into a god because number one, he's one of their ancestors. He's one of Noah's forefathers. So by default,
Mm-hmm.
we all come from Noah. He's one of their forefathers as well. Talk about the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Egyptians. And
Mm-hmm.
we already know what they do with their ancestors. They deify their ancestors and turn them into gods. So it makes sense. You
Mm-hmm.
said one, right?
Yeah, start at verse 1.
And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And
Mm-hmm. Hold
Sam
on. So
Jaza,
yeah, so these angels, they came down. They came down. They had made and it had an agreement. All right, had an agreement, and I'm gonna link it all up with astrology because now at first astrology, for those who do righteous astrology, they just dealing with the stars and the moon and the sun. But for people who, not understanding astrology and its origin of it, they nowadays you got people being tricked and used by fallen angels like Mercury, like Saturn, like these things to try to get their alignments, what I'm saying, to go along with the constellations for certain events and certain things and predict certain things, with people and events on the earth. Now, and people are getting paid for it. We're gonna talk about it when we go back to the recognitions of Clement, but I want to go down to where it's at. Where it's at. Where is it?
Hey, bro, I was gonna say a lot of people
Yeah.
use astrology and the horoscope and all that for the purpose of manipulation. Like if you know somebody's
Mhm.
sign, how to get at them a certain way to manipulate them. But that wasn't the reason that the
Mhm.
Most High gave it to Abraham. He gave it to Abraham, really mankind in general, is so you can learn how to like operate in the earth. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Like you know how to plant your crops according to astrology. You know when
Exactly.
to plant it, when not to plant it. All that is astrology.
Exactly. Exactly. Stop right here. Because they made an agreement with each other when they came down on this mountain during Jared time. Read right here. Say, let us all swear.
Let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swear they, then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders.
So you ain't gotta
Se-
name the leaders,
uh,
but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's like 10. It's 10 leaders. 10 leaders. It's like 10 leaders. These are their chief of tens. And but you can connect these leaders also with the 9 planets, all right, that's out there. And they even say it's more planets and things like that. But really, we're going to talk about it in a second. But they taught mankind astrology. Let's they taught mankind the offshoot of the astrology that Enoch knew. Okay. So now let's see this. Let's read right here. And there were and they and there it's chapter 8, verse 2. And there arose much godliness because of them. Keep read that right there from me, bro.
and there arose much godlessness, excuse me, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Samjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings.
Mm-hmm.
Amaros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakajal taught astrology.
So he taught
Cope,
astrology. He taught astrology, but Enoch already knew astrology. So Enoch was taught astrology by an angel, all right, by the Most High, and his angel, and the angel that came down and grabbed Enoch and took him to the heavens. Um, but then you got fallen angels, which came down and taught mankind astrology. Enoch was going to be the one to teach mankind astrology. They wasn't supposed to do that. God didn't tell them to do that. All right. So you got this fallen angel teaching mankind astrology, and then you got read the next. Keep going.
all
Kokabel.
right, Kokabel, the constellations.
So he teaches them the
Ezekiel,
constellations. And keep going.
Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds.
Uh-huh.
Arakael, the signs of the earth.
Uh-huh.
Samsael, the signs of the sun.
Uh-huh.
And Sariel, the course of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven.
They teaching these mankind how to do these things, but they teaching mankind do these things on the left hand side because mankind is taking these things and using these things for own self gain and control and to try to terrorize and cause that. That's why it was so much godlessness was happening. Bunch of fornication and all that because according to the stars and the sun and the moon, a certain and the constellations, if you a certain way, if you line them up a certain way, it's a perfect time to fornicate. Okay, it's a perfect time to kill. It's a perfect time to do enchantments. It's a perfect time to do certain things when certain constellations is lined up right on how they want to do it because it's in tune with the earth and the heavens. It's in tune. They're teaching mankind secrets, all right, on how to get things, how to do witchcraft, how to manipulate people, all right, how to control. They teaching mankind these things, and you got a bunch of nonsense happening, bunch of men is perishing because of this. Okay, so now you got what you call today astrologers. Okay, what you'll call today. All right, astrologers. You know what I'm saying? It became it's popular in the world today. It's very popular, but if people are not doing it with the Most High at their hedge, then who do you think is at your hedge when you're doing this? One of these fallen angels, one of these deities, one of these demigods, one of these Olympic gods, one of these, that's who's ahead of it, not the Most High. I can go outside and look at the stars and try to understand it, because I have the Most High as my hedge, because I understand the Abrahamic calendar. When you read Jubilees, Abraham is following a specific calendar. All right. He's understanding the constellation. He's understanding how things operate. Why? How? Because he's reading out of the book of Enoch. And Enoch stuff that he's saying is on point. It's on point with how everything is working in the heavens, in the sky. So we didn't need fallen angels to teach us that. We don't need them to teach us this today, but we still allowing that to happen today. We can understand this stuff by reading the book of Enoch and then going outside and having the Most High as our hedge and learning how to read these things. All right, to understand, oh, it's gonna rain tomorrow. To understand that, oh, next week gonna be sunny all week. That's the perfect time for us to go out and do some stuff in the agriculture field. The perfect time for us to do this, to do that. It's gonna be good weather next week. We don't need the news. How you think they was reading this? Because they knew astrology. They knew how to read it. They knew how to concern what the events that's going to happen on the earth, the weather events. We didn't need fallen angels to teach us this. Let's keep going. Look at Genesis. Not Genesis. We in chapter 15, still in the book of Enoch, but chapter 15. Can you read verse 1 from me? Start at verse 1, bro.
And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice, and go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them? You should intercede for men, and not men for you. Mm-hmm. Wherefore have ye left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons. And though ye were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, and have defiled yourselves with the blood of women, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh, and as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also do who die and perish.
Hold on right there. So, but now the chapter before, let me see something. The chapter before, this is what the Watchers is saying. I'm gonna read this. What the Watchers is saying. They like, what is it? Is this it? Where is it? Oh, let's see. Right here. So Enoch went and said, Azazel. This chapter 13. Enoch went and said, Azazel, thou shalt have no peace, and severe sentence has gone forth. And against thee to put thee in bond. So he threw Azazel. He's one of the leaders. He threw Azazel. The angels took Azazel and threw him in chains. Okay, in chains. But this is what I want to see. They said before these things, Enoch was hidden. They couldn't find Enoch. This is chapter 12. And no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden and where he abode and what had become of him. And his activities had to do with the watch. They like, people wondering, do some of his activities got to do with the watchers? These coming down, having sex with mankind and things like that. This is how much reverence Enoch had. And in his days were with the holy ones, and Enoch was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of the age. This is what Enoch was. He was in the heavens. So the watchers called me Enoch the scribe and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. So Enoch, he's considered the first scribe. Also, he's considered the first scribe. But I wanted to go there to show that the watchers, they even consider Enoch a scribe. So, and then on top of that, these watchers, that ones that fell, they went to Enoch. When as you read this, they went to Enoch and they like, yo, Enoch, can you give us a petition to the Most High? Let us know we sorry. Tell them that we sorry. So, like we was just reading in chapter 15, how Enoch came back with the words from the Most High to tell these watchers, this is what's going to happen to y'all. Y'all weren't supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? So because of y'all, mankind is going off and using astrology a wrong way. And people are dying out here, and it's so much stuff, crazy stuff going on. But let me go. Let's go to the Book of Jubilees, chapter 4, to solidify what we're saying. And Jubilees, let's go right here. And Jubilees date back to the at least the second, third century BCE. Can you read verse, we in Jubilees chapter 4? Can you read verse 16? So start at verse 16. We're gonna read down to 24.
All right. And in the 11th Jubilee, Jared took to himself a wife, and her name was Baraka, the daughter of Rasujal, a daughter of his father's brother, in the 4th week of this Jubilee. And she bare him a son in the 5th week, in the 4th year of the Jubilee, and called his name Enoch. And he was the first among men that are born on earth who learnt writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of heaven according to the order of their months in a book, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months.
So Enoch was the first one to do this. We didn't need angels to teach us. That Enoch was going to actually teach mankind this. He was going to teach mankind this. Okay, keep going.
Verse 18. And he was the first to write a testimony, and he testified to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Sabbaths of the years as we made them known to him.
Mm-hmm.
And what was and what will be he saw in a vision of his sleep, as it will happen to the children of men throughout their generations unto the day of judgment. He saw and understood everything, and wrote his testimony, and placed the testimony on earth for all the children of men and for their generations.
He did that so we can understand how the origin of these things. We can understand the origin, so we can actually be righteous astrologers. All right. Keep jump down to verse 22 right here.
And he testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men, for these had begun to unite themselves so as to be defiled with the daughters of men. And Enoch testified against them all.
Mm-hmm.
And he was taken from amongst the children of men, and we conducted him into the garden of Eden in majesty and honor. And behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world, and all the wickedness of the children of men.
Just like we just read in the book of Enoch, Jubilees is recounting this. Angels is telling Moses about this and giving him a recount of this, a summary of it. So Enoch was going to be the one who teach men and his children that righteous lineage, like Abraham did, was going to teach mankind the ordinance of the heavens and how things operate, the celestial, what we'll call the constellations, or another word is another word they call it. They use it. I can't even think of it's another word that's used in today's time. But we was gonna be the ones to teach people the astronomy the right way. All right, teach people horoscope. That's what it is. Horoscope. Teach them horoscope the right way. You know what I'm saying? But now it's used in a totally other direction. But it's not all bad actually. Anyway, it's just people who have certain plans and taking these things to manipulate and use people. All right, because some of the stuff with the horoscope is just it just become now just daily horoscope notifications with people like to have and things like that. But some people would take those things and try to finesse those things and get money off people. We're gonna matter of fact, we're gonna read something. The last thing we're gonna go to is the book of we're gonna go into the recognitions of Clement. Let's go to book 9. Let's see if they might got a second. You know what? I'm gonna have to go to this one. All right, so let's go to the we're gonna go to the recognitions of Clement, and we're gonna go to book 9. Let's go to book 9. Book 9. And let's start with let's read with chapter 12. Read this for me, bro. Start at chapter 12 right here.
There, the writing just became, hold on. It was looking
Hold on.
straight, but now,
You see it?
yeah, but the writing messed up. I'm gonna try to make out what it says. It was looking clear, but then out the blue, it just started looking like
What about now? Is it better now?
it's the same, but I should be straight. Therefore, the astrologers, being ignorant of such mysteries, um, think that these things happen by the courses of the heavenly bodies. Hence, also in their answers to those who go to them to consult them as to future things, they are deceived in very many instances. Nor is it to be wondered at, for they are not prophets, but by long practice, the authors of errors find a sort of refuge in those things by which they were deceived, and introduce certain, what's that?
Calimic trick. That's like certain things in history, certain events in history.
Uh, Callimetric periods, that they may pretend a knowledge of uncertain things, for they represent these callimetrics as things of danger, in which one sometimes is destroyed, sometimes is not destroyed, not knowing that it is not the course of the stars, but the operation of demons that regulates these things. And those demons, being anxious to confirm the error of astrology, deceive men to sin by mathematical calculations, so that when they suffer the punishment of sin, either by the permission of the Most High God or by legal sentence, the astrologer may seem to have spoken truth. And yet they are deceived even in this. For if men be quickly turned to repentance and remember and fear the future judgment, the punishment of death is remitted to those who are converted by God by the grace of baptism.
So so you got these a lot of astrologers, what they do is because they're not prophets, they're not prophets, or by a long practice, they found out how to, understand the certain luminaries and understand the certain constellations a certain way where they can predict certain things. And sometimes their predictions are not right, and they're not, some of them not wrong. Some of the stuff happens, but they're not understanding that the way that they're doing it, they being led by demonic spirits that actually come from the fallen angels, mixing in with the daughters of men. They led by demonic spirits to lead people wrong, off the wrong path, to lead people off the path of God. Okay, so that's their agenda now. Demons is even tricking astrologers to lead people off their path to follow the Most High, to get them to follow another path that they try to create with these constellations. Even though the stuff can be correct, but they're not understanding that the Most High controls all of that. So it's not always going to be accurate, because the Most High can change it at any day. Like I said earlier, He can make it can look like it's going to rain according to the constellations all week, but the Most High can make it sunny all week. He can change it up if He wants to, but the constellations will stay the same. All right. So, and then the astrologer come back like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it happened that way because that's how it was gonna happen. It would happen that way because that's how it was lining up. They're not 100% right. And then on top of that, they have an agenda. They have an agenda. Most of these astrologers is being used by demons because they're not doing it in the correct order of Enoch and Abraham. All right. So 1 second. Let's go to chapter 17. Let me see if I want to read this. Yeah, okay, read this right here, because then this is dealing with the fallen angels. Read this right here. This is astrological lore, how they lure people in. Keep going, bro. Read that.
In short, when Mars, holding the center in his house, regards Saturn quarterly, with Mercury towards the center, the full moon coming upon him, in the daily Genesis, he produces murderers. And those who are to fall by the sword, bloody, drunken, lustful, devilish men, inquiries into secrets, malefactors, sacrilegious persons, and such like, especially when there was no one of the good stars looking on.
So they
But
so this is wicked. So what they do is they have certain, planets lined up, and that's how you can birth on this planet. When this planet is lined up with that planet, and when the moon is like that, and when everything is a certain lined up a certain way, that's the perfect time for you to produce murderers. That's the perfect time for you to produce these type of people. So they'll do sex rituals on these days. Okay, sex rituals because they know that child's going to be born who can grow up to be a murderer based off how those constellations were lined up. All right. So once you understand those things too, then that's how you were able to use another level of witchcraft that they do, astrologers do. So they're being led by demons to do that though, because why do you need to know how to make a murderer, to born a murderer? Why do you need to know to somebody to be born so they can be somebody who can be very good at killing people by the sword? All right. We should know those things so we can be like, oh, you know what? You don't. It's not time for y'all. Don't have intercourse on this day, y'all. You know what I'm saying? On this day, if you do and you conceive and you conceive something on that day, your child can be problematic or something like that. But this stuff is actually true though. Naya? Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say that's also how they come up with the worldly holidays being on certain particular days of the year. Like like Easter always falling on a certain Sunday after a certain new moon and things like that. How you got even when you talk about Halloween or whatever, you know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, the original name for Halloween was Samhain or something like that. But pretty much they used to have like which they still do, that was like a day to where like you can conjure up like a certain type of energy by having sex on Halloween and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. And if it's no good star out there looking upon it, because they know it's some of these stars is bad stars too, yeah. Some of these stars is bad, so they know some of these things. They know this understanding, and based off that's how they be prepared to do rituals. That's how they prepare to do these things. You know what I'm saying? It can't be a good stars. Good stars can't be in that alignment right there. All right. For this stuff to happen. All right. So but keep going. Let's keep going. So you're right here. Right here. Hold on now, right here. But again.
But again, Mars himself having a quarterly position with respect to Venus in a direction toward the center, while no good star looks on, produces adulterers and incestuous persons.
Uh-huh. So if when those things line up like that, you can actually produce adulterers. You can produce ancestral people who want to do incest, ancestral people. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we needed to know those things so our community won't be full of those things. All right. So that's why even back then the clans, the different tribes, their wise men, or their what you'll call their prophets or the people that's learned in that type of into that study, they would be like they'll tell the people of the tribe like, okay, this is the perfect night for y'all to have a child. All right, that child will be a good child, you know what I'm saying, be a blessed child. That's why according to the quote unquote Greco-Roman gospels, the wise men, they knew when that certain star was aligned, they knew that that child was being born, that Messiah was being born. All right, so all of this is important to understand, and that's how you know how to keep danger out of societies, and that's why it was important to have righteous astrologers and things like that. But now you got wicked astrologers who control the world. They just let this stuff happen. They let this stuff happen. You know. Keep going, bro. Where you at? Right, yeah, right here. Venus.
All right, it said, hold on. Okay, it says Venus with the moon in the borders and houses of Saturn. If she was with Saturn and Mars looking on produces women that are, what's that? Ve- Viragos,
Mm-hmm.
ready for agriculture, building, and every manly work to commit adultery with whom they please.
So this how you can you know this how precarious women are, uh, you know,
Promiscuous.
yeah, promiscuous women are, developed. This is how you can do this. But this is high. That's and this is so in the Book of Recognition, we're writing against that. The Jewish Christians was writing against that. This stuff was going on. So they letting people know, be aware of this lore, or they can say, oh, we can tell you the perfect time to have a baby. We can tell you how to do this, but this gotta be in line. Stay away from that if they're not righteous. All right. If they're not following the most high God, stay away from that. Because they can do you dirty. All right. They can do you, they can have control over your life. You talk about what is called MLK Ultra. Talking about that. This is it. This is a one level of that. This is it. Keep going, bro. Where you at? Where
Let
you
me
at?
see.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah, it
And that.
says, and not to be convicted by their husbands,
Mm-hmm.
to use no delicacy, no ointments, no feminine robes and shoes, but to live after the fashion of men. That's crazy. This is talking about like women that's not just
Mm-hmm.
promiscuous, but women that act like men. Their mannerisms are like men or whatever. It says,
Mm-hmm.
but the unpropitious
Mm-hmm.
Venus makes men to be as women.
Uh-huh. And the powers that be, they know this. They know this. That's why they don't want us to read the recognitions of Clement. That's why it's not a part of the so-called New Testament we have today. They doing this. They align these things. That's when they go and have their gay parades. All right. They have these things in line. They go and have their gay parades. Keep going, bro.
All right. It says, where am
Right
I? Where am
here.
I? Okay. And not to act in any respect as men. If she is with Mars and Aries, on the contrary, she produces women. If she is in Capricorn or Aquarius,
And that's why they know these things. And it's not a joke. It's not a joke, y'all. This is not a joke. But if we understand these things and we do these things on the righteous way, then a lot of things that chaos that happens in the world won't happen. All right. Um, we're going ahead. We're gonna wrap this up. So this is how we refute it. All right. This is how we refute it. But hold on. This is right here. So we ain't gonna read the whole chapter, but this is chapter 19. This is how you refute it. Read this last, and then when it say Genesis, it's me and horoscopes. Read the last sentence right here.
it says, but among the seers, the fair of laws is more powerful than the configuration of Genesis.
Yeah, so the laws of the Most High is more powerful than the horoscope because the horoscope is not always accurate at all. It's not always accurate, but the Most High is accurate. All right, the Most High is accurate. His laws is perfect. His laws is accurate. So if we keep those, then automatically, then it doesn't matter if somebody was born on that month with Venus looking at towards Mars and that person was born to be a murderer. The Most High laws can change that person. Okay, or the person grow up to not be a murderer, not be the way they was destined to make him to be. All right. So having laws is more powerful than the horoscopes. The horoscopes, they're not always accurate and they're not consistent. Okay. Um, wait, let's see. It's
Hey, I was
what
going,
yeah.
oh,
Go
my bad.
ahead.
Go
Now you
ahead, bro.
good, you
Go ahead.
good, you good. Now I was say
No,
one last thing I wanted to read, but you
okay.
good.
No, I was just gonna say too, like when you talk about you, because it's also about the intentions of the parents a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
or whoever the guardian of that child is. Like you have people that sell their children off into witchcraft before their children are even born. Now that don't
Yeah.
mean, like you said, that don't mean God can't turn it around, but you do have parents, that do dedicate their child, dedicate they seventh son or their seventh child to be like some type of high priestess before he even born. He's still in the womb and he
Mm-hmm.
already dedicated to be a high priestess. It's because of stuff like this astrology that's being used on the wrong side outside of the Most High.
Mm-hmm. This is the last thing we're gonna read. But we know in Deuteronomy it tells us to not worship these things, to not go into these things. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19, it tells us to not to go into these things. Oh, let me read it real quick. Deuteronomy 4, verse 19. So Deuteronomy 4, verse 19, it say, and least thou lift up thy eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God has divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. So we shouldn't, take those things more accurate than the Most High. All right. We shouldn't put those things above the Most High. We shouldn't put the horoscopes or our planets above the Most High because the Most High, He can change the events. He's the controller of the events. He's the one that's controlling the stars. Yeah, the stars, they have their motion. The sun have his motion. The moon has its motion. You know what I'm saying? But He's the one that's controlling it. He's the one that gave them their courses. So don't put them over the Most High. All right. And like you said, Jeremiah, let me read this real quick. Jeremiah chapter 10. Ye the words of the Lord speaking unto the children of the house of Israel. Because we started going off. The children of Israel started going off and being dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the Gentiles are dismayed at them. They're the ones who worshiping Saturn. They're the ones who worshiping Mars, worshiping Zeus, which is Saturn. They're the ones who worshiping demigods, worshiping fallen angels, the ones that taught mankind the left-hand side of astrology and things like that. You know, the whole world really supposed to be on one calendrical system, which is the Abraham calendar or the Enoch calendar, which we call the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar. Yeah, now you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, can you look into that word dismayed real quick? Because
Mhm.
this like the number one scripture people use to like stray away from like anything dealing with the stars or whatever. Do you have
It's a
do you have the KJV concordance or like do you have like any Bible dictionaries on your eSword?
Nah, I just got this concordance on here right here.
All right, that's cool. But even when you look into what you got, just the regular Strongs, right? Some of the
Mhm,
things that it can mean to prostrate, which means to worship. That means fall down on your face, lay straight,
mhm,
flat on the floor and worship. It says hence to break down. So when it says break down, it's talking about to fear or to reverence it as a god. That's why you see the semicolon after the word prostrate. You're falling down to it because you're in fear of it and you're worshiping it. The same way some people choose to worship God. They lay flat on their face and worship some people, right?
mhm,
Then it says uh either literally by violence. We know it's not by violence. Ain't no stars literally making you fall down. It says,
mhm,
or figuratively, it says by confusion and fear. It can mean abolish, it can mean affright, it can mean be, make, afraid, amaze, beat down, discourage, cause to, dismay, go down, scare, terrify. But in the context of what this is talking about, which is talking about the Gentiles worshiping the stars and how we're not to be like the Gentiles and be dismayed and do the same thing. It's talking about to lay prostrate or to break down in the sense of fear, like meaning to reverence the stars, meaning like to treat it as God, the same way that the Greeks
mhm.
treat these stars as gods. So it's not saying you
Exactly.
can't use the stars. It's not saying you can't deal with astrology. It's saying you cannot worship them. And that's always what the children of Israel fell to. Even when you read Ezekiel, I believe it's chapter 8. We was worshiping every star
Mhm,
possible to worship.
mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Now that's real, bro. That's real. And like we read in Genesis before, they was made to be signs for us. And we read in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. The Most High said, and they shall be for signs for us. All right. So it's not wrong to look to understand these signs, but don't worship them and don't try to use them to get over on people and to control people because the Most High is the one who controls them. So and sometimes people can think that they controlling them, but the Most High has a whole different plan, and that person that's trying to control them by using the horoscope and by using astrology, the Most High actually can combat against that and not make that person plan go through. All right. So we have to understand that these stars, these luminaries, they don't have these so-called planets, they don't have more power, more authority than the creator. All right. So let's test the astrology. We're gonna end it with this. Let's test the astrology. Okay. And I found this written almost 2,000 years ago. And they telling us how to test the astrology. Let's see how the Ebionites was testing the astrology. Let's see. Let's read that, bro.
Okay. It says, then I answered, I shall therefore tell you, my father, what is the nature of mathematics, and do you act according to what I tell you? Go to a mathematician and
Mm-hmm.
tell him first that such and such evils have befallen you at such a time, and that you wish to learn of him whence or how or through what stars they have befallen you.
So they're like, hey,
He
this is how you test it. So go to a math magician, because that's what astrologers is. They math, because to understand the luminaries, you have to understand math, certain type of math. Even with the calendar, we understand the calendar. It was hard for people to understand the calendar. You know, they think we know some type of high level math, but no, we just understand the calendar. So that makes us math magicians the way we understand the calendar. But we're not mathematicians. We're not. we I mean, you can call us that because we understand a calendar that it takes people to understand. But once you understand, you're like, oh, this ain't simple. And that's how some of these astrologers is, they understand this type of math and it's simple to them, it's not to others, but they take advantage of that and they control people with that. So they like one person, I'll go to them and tell them some evils, then befalling on you. And you want to know what stars, it's causing this. Why what is lined up that's calling this befalling on me. Can you read it? Keep going. And he will not.
Yeah, my bad. It says, he will no doubt answer you that a malignant Mars on Saturn has ruled your times.
So he would say Mars or Saturn, is corrupted at or something. It's controlling that evil that's befalling on you. You did something. You need to do this. Take. Give me my money and take and do this. Follow these steps. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Or that someone of them has been periodic,
Mhm.
or that someone has regarded you diametrically, or in conjunction, or what's that? Centrally,
Mhm.
or some such answer will he give,
They give you
adding,
something.
adding that in all these, someone was not in harmony with the malignant one.
So they thought someone wasn't in harmony with their horoscope. Somebody wasn't and something was off. But not knowing if you just treat people right, or if you just do things right in the earth, then good things will happen to you. But if you do bad things in the earth, then the creator will allow bad things to happen to you. All right. So just simple as that. You treat people how you want to be treated. Treat that neighbor as thyself. All right. If you don't, bad things will happen to you unless you're on the bad side. If you're on the bad side, then you already gonna be doing bad things, and then bad things, when things happen to you, you just like, oh yeah, it was because of this was lined up with that. You know what I'm saying? No, because you're doing wicked things. Like, understand that. That's the universe. The universe, it works like that. What comes up must goes down. That's how it works. The most high is simple, just like that. Keep going, bro.
All right. Let me see one minute.
Right here.
It says, adding that in all these, someone was not in harmony with the malignant one, or was invisible, or was in the figure, or was beyond the division, or was eclipsed, or was not in contact. Excuse me, yeah, or was not in contact, or was among the dark stars, and many other like things will he answer, according to his own reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and will condescend upon particulars.
Mm-hmm.
After him, go to another to you at that time, monitoring, excuse me,
Hold on,
mentioning.
yeah. Hold on, yeah. After that, go to another magician and
Yeah, that's
tell
what,
him the
okay.
opposite. And tell him, so you'll go to another magician and tell him the opposite, that good things have happened to you. Keep going. Such and such.
that, that such and such good happened to you at that time, mentioning to him the same time, and ask him from what parts of your genesis this
Horoscope.
good
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
this good has come to you, and take care, as I said, that the times are the same with those about what you ask concerning evils. And when you have deceived him concerning the times, See what figures he will invent for you, by which to show that good things ought to have befallen you at those very times. For it is
Mhm.
impossible, for it is impossible for those treating of the genesis of men not to find in every quarter, as they call it, of the heavenly bodies, some stars favorably placed and some unfavorably. For the circle is equally complete in every part, according to mathematics, admitting of diverse and various causes, from which they can take occasion of saying whatever they please.
So they'll tell you whatever they want to tell you. They'll tell you whatever they want to tell you. And some of the stuff can be right, but you know what's more accurate is the most high. You know, is the most high, and having righteous morals, righteous biblical ethic morals. All right, that's what's way more better. Having ethical morals, which is coming from the creator, having those biblical ethic morals, that is way better than going to than trying to learn astrology from a sorcerer. Because that's what they are. They not righteous astrologers. They not righteous. Because if they was righteous, they wouldn't have to tell you all of that. You know, they wouldn't dare just tell you, yeah, they'll tell you things, but they'll be like, you know what? That stuff may happen, but if you just keep the most high as your hedge first, it may not even go as planned as that. Because we done seen things, the most high over calculate things all the time. You know. Yeah, bro. So
No, I was just gonna say it almost seemed like a diagnosis, right? So it's like, when you go to the hospital, you see a doctor and you believe you have something, you tell the doctor all your symptoms. And one thing about like diseases and like cancers and stuff like that is
mhm.
that a lot of them look very similar. They had like the same effects might be attributed to a few different type of diseases. They might all look exactly the same, but it's not until you look under a microscopic scope that you see that it variate just a little bit different than the other. So because they're so similar, a lot of the times the same medicine that'll fight one illness will fight the next illness also. Like for example, if you talk about skin disease, you got eczema. You know what I'm saying? You got I forgot the other skin disease, but it's one that it's two of them that attack people hair a lot of times. And when it attack your hair, it attack like by like your hairline. I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of it. But pretty much a doctor that don't really know what they're doing, they can't tell the difference. But what they do know is it's about 3 to 5 different main skin diseases. And we got this medicine that pretty much it might not cure it, but it's a good treatment for all of it. So I'm just gonna give you this medicine. You told me the symptoms, and I'm just gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this one medicine that's good for all of it. And it's kind of like that's what they doing. But the only
Yeah.
difference is what they giving people is not good for nothing. They only prescribing to you after you tell them what you dealing with. And what they gonna prescribe to you, they only know the information because you just told them. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you giving them the power. They don't know nothing. All they know is what you tell them, and then they going off of that.
Exactly. Exactly. Nah, right on, bro. Right on, man. But yeah, you know, that's the lesson, the fathers of astrology and astronomy is Enoch and Abraham. All right, and everybody from that lineage. We the real astrologers, okay? The children of Israel are the real astrologers. All right, the righteous ones. We the righteous astrologers. And the world can be a different place if we take back what is originally ours, which astrology is ours too. All right, we take it back. All right, it's ours too. It's the righteous. It's the righteous ones. Okay, the world got to change. It has to change. It has to too. But any other comments, bro? Questions? Anything before we
No, I
end
mean,
it?
I would just say good lesson, but it's real interesting the information you went into. Me personally, I was never
Praises.
privy to that. Now I did read before in Josephus about if you come from the church we come from, in the
Yeah.
Hebrew Academy, you heard before that, Josephus taught the Egyptians arithmetic. No, my bad. Abraham in the book of
Mhm.
Josephus, according to Josephus, he taught the Egyptians arithmetic. And I think it said he taught them how to build too, or something like that. But I never thought about it. When you talk about arithmetic and you talk about calculus and algebra, those are the mathematics that you need in order to deal with astronomy. So it be little hints in certain texts that we don't pay attention to. Like even when you talk about him being an astrologer, we all read before that Abraham looked at the stars and he was able to realize that the stars is not God. It's something that's greater, that's beyond the stars that got to be God, because the stars only function during certain hours of the day. That's the only time they visible. The sun only function during certain times of the day. The moon, the same situation. So, but it's just funny how now you can kind of tie that to the fact that he was an astrologer.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's interesting, man. All praise to the Most High, man. Y'all have a blessed Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom.